If you've ever come across an expired roll of film at a thrift store or an estate sale, or maybe even in an old camera you picked up, and you've wondered, can I actually shoot with this? This video is for you. Today, we're kicking off something I'm really excited about, the expired film series. In episode 1, we're starting from the very beginning. What expired film actually is, what it does to your photos, and what happened when I shot my first roll. Hey guys, it's Shay of Blackman Photography. If this is your first time here, welcome to my channel, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly is expired film? Every roll of film has an expiration date printed on the box or the canister. That date is the manufacturer's way of telling you, hey, this is when the film is at its best. The colors are accurate, the sensitivity is correct, and the results are predictable. But here's the thing, expired film doesn't just stop working the moment that date passes. It degrades, slowly, over time. Now for a quick explanation. Film is light sensitive because of the silver halide crystals embedded in its emulsion layers. Those crystals are what react when light hits them to create your image. When film expires, those crystals start to break down. They become less sensitive to light, color dyes shift, and you start to get increased grain and a loss of contrast. The older the film, and the worse it's been stored, the more dramatic those changes will be. And here's why that actually matters for us as film photographers. Expired film is not just a mistake waiting to happen. In the right hands, those unpredictable shifts can create something really beautiful and unique. But you need to understand what you're working with before you shoot. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening inside that film canister. Like previously mentioned, film has multiple emulsion layers, typically one for red, green, and blue light sensitivity. Each layer responds differently to age. The faster layers, meaning higher ISO, tend to degrade more quickly than the slower ones. That's why a roll of ISO 800 film that's 5 years past its expiration date will look very different from a roll of ISO 100 film that's expired by the same amount. As these layers degrade, a few things happen. First, fog. Background fog builds up in the emulsion layers over time. Even areas that weren't exposed to light start to show a light hazy density. That's what gives a lot of expired film that dreamy, washed out look you've probably seen. Second, color shifts. The dye couplers and color film break down at different rates in each layer, so you might get an unexpected green cast or an orange shift depending on the film stock and how old it is. Third, reduced sensitivity. The film essentially becomes slower than its rated ISO. The general rule of thumb in the film photography community is to add one stop of exposure for every decade the film is expired. So if you're shooting a 400 ISO film that's 10 years old, then you treat it more like a 200 ISO film. Now, I want to be honest, this is a starting point, not a guaranteed formula. Different films age differently. Storage conditions matter a lot, and part of what this series is about is testing all those things in the real world. Okay, now let's talk about how to actually find expired film. A few of my favorite places to look. 1. Thrift stores and estate sales. This is honestly where some of the most interesting expired films show up. People donate cameras and film all the time without realizing what they have. Check the camera case pockets, rolls are often still inside. 2. The photography community. Reddit, Facebook groups, local film photography clubs, photographers trade and sell expired film all the time. And 3. Online. Search specifically for the film stock you want. You'll find sellers who specialize in selling expired film. Just pay attention to how it was stored. Refrigerator or freezer stored means it's aged much better than film left on a shelf. Now, the online method is the method I use to get my expired film. Personally, I source mine through the Expired Film Club from the Brooklyn Film Camera. It's a curated selection of expired rolls, which takes a lot of the guesswork out of hunting online yourself if you aren't looking for a particular roll of film. I'm not sponsored by them, although I would appreciate it, but it's just generally what I use for my expired film series. And here's one thing I want you to keep in mind. The conditions matter as much as the age. Film that has been kept in a cool, dry, dark place will perform significantly better than film that sat in like a hot garage for 20 years. If the seller doesn't mention the storage conditions, make sure you ask. Now, let's set some realistic expectations before we get into the results, because I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Expired film is not instant, predictable, or guaranteed. That's kind of part of the appeal, but it also means you need to go in with the right mindset. If you're like me, when I first started looking into this, you may have seen those gorgeous, heavily fogged, vintage-looking expired film shots online. And yes, those results can be real, but they're also not guaranteed. So what can you realistically expect? Some degradation. The amount depends on the age and the storage, but you will likely see some increased grain, some color shift, and potentially some fogging. Surprises, both good and bad. And that's the honest truth. Sometimes a roll that should look wrecked comes out looking beautifully moody. Sometimes a roll you had high hopes for is a wash. That unpredictability is what makes this series worth doing. And that brings us to roll number 1. Alright, before I show you the scans, if you find this useful, a quick subscribe helps me keep making content like this. Now, here's what I was working with for episode 1. The popular Fuji Color Superior Extra 400. According to the Expired Film Club, this film expired in 2006 and it was cold stored by the Brooklyn Film Club, and then I cold stored it when it arrived at my home. I shot it on the Yashica Electro 35 GSN and I developed it at home with my Patterson tank using Cinestill C41 developer. I then scanned it with my digital scanning rig. Alright, let's look at what came out. Okay, so for these photos, after I processed them and scanned them and uploaded them to my laptop, I used the Negative Pro Lab to convert them from negatives to like actual images. So I used the Superior, like the Fuji Superior drop down to kind of make it look like a regular photo, and then I tweaked some of the settings. It was mostly like the brightness, the exposure, the light, because some of them were pretty dark, and I did some color correction, but I tried to leave them as close to the original Fuji Color Superior setting as possible. So first photo, I think, was an accidental photo, and that's a picture of my steering wheel, really close. I don't remember taking this picture, but I guess I accidentally did. So yeah, that's kind of the first photo. After that, I don't remember what I took photos of next. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to do my best. All right, so this one, as you can see, it has kind of that haze that I was talking about, a lot of grain. I do think it doesn't have too bad of a greenish tint, but it is a little faded, like the color's a little faded. But yeah, that's one of them. Here's a photo of like, not a statue, but a structure in the Japanese garden portion of the Norfolk Botanical Garden. As you can see along the edges, it is kind of faded and almost a little reddish pinkish near the end, and so I don't know if that is, it almost looks like a light leak, and I'm not sure if that is because of the camera or just because of the film, because it's expired. Here is another photo in the botanical garden, or in the Japanese portion of the garden. I actually took a couple of photos of this kind of same spot because I really liked it, but here it's a bit darker. I think I tweaked the exposure a bit, but you can definitely see some grain near the edge, or like the outer side portion of the photos. And then the next two are brighter. So here you can see again, it's kind of that faded edge. And then the next one is not quite as bad. The color's a little more vibrant. I definitely tweak this one a little bit more in the contrast piece. And then here's another one that I don't think looks too bad. Not a whole lot of grain. It was definitely kind of an overcast day, so it is a little darker. But overall, I actually like this photo. And then this photo, overall, I think is good, but it's another example of kind of that faded border with almost that reddish, pinkish, orange look. But again, I like the photo. And then I took some photos of statues, and again, kind of the same thing as with the one I just showed you. Looks good kind of in the middle, but along the edge, you kind of got that faded look, and you start to see a bit more grain. And same thing here. It's almost like a vignetting. And again, I can't tell if it is light leak on the film from the camera, or if it's just because the film is expired. And then another one, or a different photo of the bridge. Again, as you'll see, around the edges kind of faded, but the inside of the photo I think looks good. And then I like this photo as well. It's a bit darker, and you can definitely see the edges with kind of that orangish tint, but I like this photo. I wish it was a little brighter, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. So this one, I was trying to focus on the red flowers, but that did not work out. It actually focused on the kind of bluish flowers in the back. So with the Yashica Electro 35 GSN, it has like a zone focus, kind of a rangefinder type thing. And so I guesstimated the focus of the flowers. Didn't quite work out, but overall, it's fine. Then I gotta take a picture of some ducks, or I guess geese is a better term for them. Yeah, pretty straightforward photo. Nothing amazing about it, nothing I hate either. It's just kind of a photo. And then again, I think I was trying to get the flowers in focus here, but that didn't really happen. And I don't know if I just forgot to change the setting or what. I'm gonna have to do a better job in the future of making sure I write down all my settings for the various photos. We'll try this again with episode 2. But yeah, I like the color in the middle. Again, the outside has that faded look. I really like the color in this photo of the butterfly in the middle. It's always a cool place to just kind of photograph. One day I gotta like get a picture of myself with the wings, but until then, I like this photo. Again, a bit faded on the edges, but good strong coloring in the middle. And then here is a butterfly seat in the butterfly garden type area of the botanical garden. I think it's a cute little picture. I would have liked it to be a little brighter, but overall I think it's cute. And then here I tried to capture this couple. It's kind of hard to see, but I just thought it was like a nice photo of them walking in the park, just something simple. So this one is a little funky. I think they're 2 different photos because when I processed them in the Negative Pro Lab, they process differently even though I pretty much use the same settings. This photo here, I don't know how I feel about it. I couldn't get it to pop like some of the others, and again, I don't know, I pretty much processed the same as I did the other photos, but for whatever reason this one was darker, and maybe my camera settings were off for this one, but you can see a lot more grain in here because I lifted the shadows and just made it brighter overall. So it's a bit faded, but it's okay. And actually, now that I think about it, these next couple of photos, which are near the end, are more faded than the ones in the beginning. So again, this one is more faded. I would like some more contrast and pop for this, but again, that's just kind of how it turned out. And I wonder, is it because of how much sunlight or how much sky these photos have as opposed to the other photos who kind of focus more on like the scenery? So maybe the sky, not tricking the camera, but like threw off the camera's metering. And this photo is just really dark. Totally missed the focus of the flowers. Really, even the leaves aren't in focus right under the flowers. It's kind of off to the side. But when I tried to push this anymore, it just got really faded, kind of like the photo of the little shack. And then here's another photo. I think it's fine. A little dim, not as vibrant, but it's fine. Not my favorite, but not, the worst. It is interesting that I want to say vignetting, but it's interesting that the corners and the border is more faded and less purple or less like reddish orange and just kind of less contrasty. In the final photo, again, out of focus. I would have liked to get this flower in focus, but I missed it. It's fine. But again, I wonder if it's because of how much sky. That's why these last couple of photos aren't as punchy. But yeah, those are the photos I took for my first expired film roll. Overall, I think they're okay. I know I talked about the fact that, you need to manage your expectations. And I wasn't expecting like perfection. But some of these I wish would have been better. But then again, I also wonder, did I do something wrong in the processing? Because I just processed these photos as far as the development piece the normal way, just per the instructions. I didn't compensate for the fact that the film was expired. So I will do some more research before I process my next roll of expired film to see if I need to not only, overexpose or stop or whatever, but also if I need to either lengthen or shorten the developing time for the film to get it as vibrant as possible.
Here's what's coming for the rest of this series. Each episode, I'm shooting a new roll of expired film, different stocks, different expiration dates, different conditions, and documenting the results honestly. No cherry picking the best shots, you'll see all of them. If my shoot holds up, I'll shoot with that and probably my Lomo MCA. If you want to follow along, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss episode 2. And I really do want to hear from you. Have you ever shot with expired film? What were your results? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and honestly, some of the best tips in the series are going to come from you guys. Until next time, keep practicing, keep having fun, and I'll see you in the next video.